Welcome to the Change Cafe, the ACMP Ontario podcast where we sit down with change leaders, practitioners, and thinkers to explore the real stories behind how change actually happens. I'm Andrew Ourique, and for our first episode, it felt only right with a conversation with the president of ACMP Ontario, Sharon McLaughlin. Sharon is an accomplished human resources and change management leader with deep experience leading transformation in complex, dynamic environments, particularly within the municipal government. During her career, she has worked at the intersection of HR strategy, talent development, shared services, payroll, and large scale technology modernization, always with a strong focus on the employee experience. Beyond her professional work, Sharon has been a long-standing contributor to the change community. She began her involvement with ACMP Ontario as treasurer and now serves as president, bringing with her broad experience, a passion for professional development, and a strong commitment to advancing the practice of change management. She is a certified change management professional with ACMP, a certified human resources professional, and an ICF certified coach. OMG. But what really stands out is her reputation for thoughtful leadership, innovation, and empathy during periods of change. Sharon, I'm so happy to have you as the first guest along with me for the Change Cafe. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to do this, and thank you for taking us on this journey of podcasting.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because I like to hear myself talk. Maybe that's probably most of it. But for all of you who are listening, for the first time, we'll walk you through kind of how the conversation is going to go. So each of the episodes, what we're going to be doing is just asking our guests a series of questions, the same questions because we want to hear from each of them how they got started with change, what was their biggest challenge, how did they deal with it, and really kind of get this repository of episodes and feedback and conversations with leaders who are actively doing it and seeing kind of what has made a difference in their life. So we'll go through these questions, and then we do have a lightning round, which is a little bit more fun, a little bit more lighthearted to wrap things up, and then we'll see where we go. This is the first episode, as I mentioned, so we're going to continue to adapt and evolve the podcast as we get feedback from folks like you, listeners. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll let you know how to do that at the end. So I think we should just get started and dive right into the questions. So the first question we've got to ask is, Sharon, how did you get started in change management?
Well, I think I'm not alone in this journey. I kind of fell into it. From that, I mean, I was doing it already before I realized I was doing it. As you said, my background is in human resources, so I've always had that human focus. And then, excuse me, I got into HR tech, the implementation of HR tech. And I was leading those implementation. I worked for the city of Ottawa for many, many years, and we ran SAP. So was on the first implementation of SAP at a time that the cities were amalgamating. And from there, I just took on different projects to make the user experience easier. SAP is not easy. It wasn't easy back then. And so, from an HR perspective, I focused on employee self-serve, manager self-serve, and that led me to implementing HR shared services. We didn't have it at City. I seen the need as we were implementing all these technology and launched HR Service Center, a first for the city. And it was later on that I realized that I was doing change management. It was just who I am and how I did things. I thought I was a project manager. When I discovered ACMP and change management, I said, that's me, and that's what I was doing. So I think it was 2017 that I was going through a career transition and looking at upgrading my skills. I was looking at coaching. I was looking at change management and realized that I could get my change management certification just based on my past experience. So I did that, and later on ended up getting my coaching certification as well.
Yeah, it seems like that's such a common kind of story with
Yeah,
a lot of seasoned change management professionals where they're just like, I didn't really know what I was doing was called change management, but
yeah,
as it starts to become, a field in and of itself, they're like, that's what I've been doing, my
yeah.
whole life, and we just didn't have a word for it.
For
And
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly. That is
Yeah.
exactly how I felt. I'm like, oh my God, this is me. This is what I'm doing. And, I've been on the management team at the city for many, many years, and it's how I led. It's how I interact with people and clients. So it just all fit together.
Yeah, no, I agree. Coming from psychology background, yeah, I loved the concept of change management because
Yeah,
I felt like it was the closest I'd ever become to get, close to, the psychology, the field that I love in a business setting. And I
right.
know for a lot of people that had like, employee experience at the center, it's like a perfect job for folks who just really want to be there for employees. And so you definitely see a lot of HR professionals who just gravitate towards it because that's essentially what HR is kind of, all about. So yeah, it's a great story. As you were going through and given all the experience that you had or have, what's one moment that challenged you kind of the most, and what did you learn from it that you want to share with the listeners?
Um, I think in municipal government, it's constantly changing. I can say there was a period in my career that we were going through a reorganization every 3 years. So when you're leading a big technology implementation and you have consultants, you have project team, things in the organization still happen. They still move forward. So there was a point in my career where we were in the middle of a project, middle of a transformation, and the organization went through a reorganization. It was substantial, and my job through that was to keep it going, keep the team going, as well as the momentum going, but aligned to the new direction. Thankfully, we did, but it was a huge learning curve at the time of being in the middle of a transformation and the I won't call it a misalignment because it was just a change that we needed to adapt to. And I think that was a huge learning curve for me. But also another one that stands out is there was one project where after go live, a big group came forward and said, this doesn't work for us. And it was very early on. I'm talking in the 2000s. And I realized that your scoping of stakeholders is so important. And when you think you got everybody, you got to make sure and keep asking questions to make sure that you have everyone covered and make sure that you do the change management with all stakeholders.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone. I know myself have definitely gone through those types of, misses. And it's just given the complexity of the organization, it's just
Right.
sometimes so hard to make sure you've captured everyone. And even when you think you do, you find out that distribution lists haven't been updated in months or,
Yeah.
and I mean, yes, I think, I myself have come near the end of a project realizing that there was a whole group being missed, and I've gone through the same learning too. It's like, oh, like, yeah, it always for me was an afterthought. I was like, oh, they're putting a stakeholder map together. I was like, oh yeah, I'll get to it, and then you see it kind of blow back, and you're like, wow, this is a critical step that you can't miss.
I think
Um,
that's I think what you said there is important because it's not what we all may miss some groups because it is, sometimes you don't get all the information you need, but it's what you do with it then.
Mhm.
And how you recover from that, how do you make them feel engaged and ensure that what do you need to do to pivot or recover or change to meet their needs. And that all depends on the size and the complexity and where they are in the whole stakeholder mapping too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback off of one of our other board members as kindness, so who kind of runs communications and marketing, you got to give yourself some grace. When it
Yeah,
comes to things like this, it is super complex, and you're not gonna be able to cover all your bases. But it's
right.
exactly what you said. It's what you do after that that's
Yeah.
going to define you and going to define the change. I love that. So keeping on going with these questions, so what is a big aha moment that really shaped how you lead change today, over the course of your experience?
I think it might seem silly, but just everybody doesn't think the same way. As I explained to you, I had an aha moment that I was doing change management, but at the same time it was, oh, you don't think that way? You're a project manager, but you're not thinking about the human impact. Um, that surprisingly enough, that was a surprise to me because it's just fundamentally how I approach life and put people first. So I think that was the aha moment that I'll
Mm,
say.
that's a great one. Honestly, I feel like I still need to have that reminder constantly.
Yeah,
It's and I think it goes to show like how important kind of like leading with like curiosity is in our line of work. I think I've kind of learned that over time, maybe as a technique to just like not get so upset and frustrated. It's like, what do you mean you don't know that this change is
yeah,
happening? We've been communicating for months, and leading more in the sense of like curiosity to be like, how did you not see it? Is there maybe something that you know I just assumed, that an email is the right channel for this audience, or a
yeah.
call is the right channel. And so kind of leading with that curiosity and being open to the idea like you're talking about, and that empathy to say, you know what, not everyone is wired the same way as me. And so just,
That's it.
yeah, being okay with the idea of like, I mean, we think about change, and change is hard to do just with ourselves. And we're probably the best people to know what we need, and we still have challenges, but we're talking about changing hundreds, thousands of people. We're not going to get it right. So you just got to be curious, and maybe you learn something new along the way,
Right,
which is really the goal.
right. And keeping the um, understanding or the awareness that everyone's different and you might stand in front of a small group or hundreds of people and communicate a change or send that email, like you said. But pay attention to the individuals and their reaction to it and the nonverbal and what they're not saying and doing that follow up because some people need a little bit more help as they go through
Mm.
change.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. So, what is one message? And as we're kind of wrapping up the discussion questions here of the podcast, what is one message you hope our audience takes away from the conversations we're having today?
Absolutely, to keep going on that, I think we all know the tools and the processes of change management, but we're also human and we don't go through it in a perfect order. So, being aware of the human side of change, being aware of the individuals, and taking that thought of some people need a little bit extra coaching through it.
Yeah, I love that idea there. And I feel like that's such a strong, I feel like 2026 trend, hopefully, is this idea of, trying to integrate more coaching into kind of,
Mhm.
the whole change management plan. I feel like it's been something that, when I first started my career, it seemed to be all over the place. And then, resources, budgeting just never really accommodated for this idea of change management plus coaching to really make sure that, we actually implemented something successfully. But you definitely are hearing some rumblings around that intersection between change management and coaching that's really starting to bubble up in the surface. And people like you, who are both, a certified coach and change management professional, I think are just going to be at the helm of really trying to help us understand how we can best utilize both sides of that coin to really help make change stick.
Yeah, I was so pleased that ACMP and ICF had a partnership to see how the two professions can work together, because I truly believe in both.
Mhm.
I believe in the process and the structure, but I also am that see that empathy side to help individuals go through that change. And it's hard. Change is hard, even for
Mhm.
myself. I think that's why I love change and change management is because I recognize that I don't like change that much when it's thrust upon me.
Yeah, I know we're like the worst customers when it comes
Yeah,
to
right.
the
Yeah.
changes, right? It was like when I used to work at the bank, the worst people I ever had when I was a teller, CSR, the worst customers I ever had were bankers, right? They pull the screen around so you can see it, and you're like, oh my god, this person again. And we're the same when it comes to change management. We are the worst to go through
Yeah.
change. So
Yeah.
and so the last question that we'll ask is kind of a fun one. Is what are you reading, watching, or learning from right now that you'd want to share with, me and everyone else listening?
Well, I am um, just coming back into 2026, and I might be late on my goal setting for the year because I took a good break, but I'm focusing on doing my MCMP. I'm going to get in and my application in for that. My training, excuse me, I'm going to take a new course. It's called Foresight, and it's an assessment and good for teams going through change, how people collaborate, how people work together through uh, times of change and problem solving. So I think that's going to be my next course.
I love that. All right, I gotta make a note of that, and we'll of course make a note of that in the show notes for everyone in case you're curious. Um, and yes, I'm also in the same boat. I didn't take a break, but I definitely am behind on my reflection of 25 and looking into the 2026. I think the big one is like drink more water for me. That's like I think the number one thing I want to just make sure I focus on. I tend to be somebody who you can't hit me with like too many like things to do. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
just get overwhelmed. So I'm like, I'm just gonna stick to like maybe one goal and then do that for like, a month or two. If I can do that, then let's add some more to it. And I feel like water is an easy one. I
Yeah.
need to drink. I need to drink more
It's
water, man.
a necessity. It's a good thing.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
Um,
no, I'm a person, anybody that's listening and knows me knows that I don't sit still. So I made a big life transition last fall from municipal government into an independent, and doing some HR consulting as well as change management consulting and coaching. So I brought all my expertise together. And so I need to give myself a little bit of grace and
mhm.
not go so heavy on the planning for that. So this is time to focus on building that side, and but there are two things that I already know that I want to sign up for in the next quarter.
I think that's a great takeaway for the podcast. Maybe it'll be the title for this podcast is give yourself some grace in 2026.
Yeah.
I'm definitely all for that. So before we wrap up, I do want to kind of head into our lightning round, which is not necessarily change specific, but probably will have a hint of change, maybe a hint of coaching on the side, a little bit on that. But these are really just short questions to just help us get to know you a little bit better for those who don't already. And it goes just beyond, like I said, change management, titles, roles, all of that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit more fun. So the first one is, what is one habit that contributes to your success?
I think focusing on relationships.
Mm,
I'm a believer in working together and especially when you work in an large organization, you might meet someone on a course or in a meeting, and you never know when you might need their help.
mm,
And so I'm big on building relationships. So I don't know if that's the essence you were looking for. I think,
100%. It's your show here, Sharon.
yeah,
You
yeah, no, I think that's that. It's the people around me, people that have
yeah,
helped me, and um, people know they can count on me. And like I said, you never know when you might need to pick up a phone and someone in a totally different area of the business or another independent that you may need some help because we can't do it
100
alone.
100%. I think that's a huge, that's such a valuable one because whether it's personal or professional life, I mean, like
Yep.
everything we've been talking about, we can't do it alone, right? And no one's going to help you if you're mean. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And we definitely need help from everyone who can lend a hand. So yeah, being nice
Be
is
nice
the
and set
goal.
goals. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
another one too. I
yeah.
always had a goal, whether
Hmm.
it be my change management or my coaching, or I always had a course. I'm a
Hmm.
lifelong learner, so that would be what contributed to it as well.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that one. So, the next one is, what would you tell your 13-year-old self?
Oh, dream big.
Mm,
Follow your own path, not somebody else's.
yeah, I love that one. Follow your own path.
You
Advice I
know,
feel like I could have gotten at
yeah.
13 for sure.
Yeah, I
So,
think
for
a
all
lot
you
of 13-year-olds could
yeah,
take that, following the crowd and thinking you love a course, but it's because your friend loved a course. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
follow your
Yeah,
own dreams.
yeah. So, for all you 13-year-olds listening to this change management podcast, be sure to follow your own path.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and the next question here is the greatest advice that you've ever received?
The greatest advice that sticks out for me, I was a busy mom and in my 40s, and I remember going to one of my bosses that was a mentor to me, and I was like, I can't do it, two kids running around, the thick of sports, all that. And I was asking, like, how did you get to where you are? And she said to me, and I still remember it, she says, what are you going to do after they're gone? When they're grown, what are you going to do? And it just made me pause and remember that uh, moms can have a career too, and moms can have goals and dreams and balance it all. And your kids are only young for so long,
Mm,
and they
yeah,
do grow up and have their own lives. And I'm thankful I'm still young when they did that. So, but I'll always remember when I was having a rough day, she said that to me, and it just gave me the strength to keep going.
I love that, honestly, because I do think moms, dads, I think they're always so hard on themselves, especially
Yep.
those who have like a very, taxing career on top of things. And I do truly believe, because both my parents were we're working, incredibly long hours as well. And I think I'm better for it. Seeing
Yeah.
kind of how much work and effort that they put in makes me want to kind of go that extra step because I've got those role models, and I'm sure your kids feel the same way. But I'm sure as parents, you're always conflicted with,
Oh,
should
for
I be?
sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but it's tough when you're going through it, and it kind of goes back to that support. You need a support system around
You
you,
do.
and
100%.
and people, um, everyone's going through it and having different challenges in life, so we need to support each other.
Yeah, I love that. So the next one is around a business or change resource or coaching resource that you would recommend to the folks listening.
I had to think of what I would recommend to the listeners, and I've already recommended this book to uh, others. So it's called Change: How to Turn Uncertainty into Opportunity, and it comes with a parable to accompany it, and it's
Oh,
about the human side of change and people. The story is about going down a river of change, and it stuck with me. So I thought maybe others would enjoy reading that as well.
I love that. I haven't read that one. And I think that's great. I love that you brought it. And I think to show, I love that. We'll
Show
put a
and
link in.
tell.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. That's great. We'll definitely link it out in the show notes as well. So folks, you guys can just take a look there to get access to the
Sure,
link. Unaffiliated, of course,
of
this is all for
course.
you.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I love that idea of like managing through uncertainty because let's face it, 2025 was a lot of uncertainty, and 2026 doesn't seem to be any different. So I definitely think we could all use some helping guidance on how to navigate through that. And
Yes.
lastly, of course, I mean, one of the most important ones is what would be the best way or ways, I guess, to connect with you if folks are interested in connecting.
So, anybody that's listening that wants to get involved or chat about ACMP Ontario, my ACMP email is president@acmpontario.ca. My personal email is coach@sharonmclaughlin.ca. And I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, so I don't have to spell out my how to spell that out. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to chat with anybody listening.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate you jumping onto the podcast for the first episode. One, it made me a little bit more confident to, to do this one and kick things off. But I think there's really nobody better to kick off the new ACMP Ontario podcast than yourself. And so yeah, and sharing your story, your perspective, your experiences. I know I myself have taken a lot of value, and I kind of love doing stuff like this, even with folks that I know like you, because I feel like I still learn so much, right? Because how often do we really ask these questions
Right.
with people, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like I've gotten to know you a little bit better throughout this podcast. So thank you again for taking the time. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the very first episode of Change Cafe. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback, feel free to reach out. My name is again Andrew Ourique. So I am the director of events at ACMP Ontario. So you can contact me directly through email at events@acmpontario.org. It's the best way to reach me personally. Of course, you can find me on LinkedIn at Andrew Ourique, and so that'll be in the show notes as well. Feel free to reach out, connect. Love to chat. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe. We're actually going to be doing these every single month, and we've got a number of guests already planned for the coming months. So we're really excited to have them jump onto the podcast. So if you don't want to miss out, be sure to subscribe. Share it with a friend, of course, if you enjoy the conversation here. And don't forget, follow ACMP Ontario on LinkedIn for any updates, including future episodes. and events. There may be some events that are coming up in Ontario that you might want to jump onto, both in person and virtual. So you definitely want to go take a look at that on the ACMP Ontario website. As I said, I'm Andrew Ourique, and this has been the Change Cafe. Till next time, be sure to keep the conversation going. Thanks, everybody.